In the late 4th century BCE, a Greek diplomat traveled to the borders of the known world expecting to find chaos. Instead, he walked out of the thick river mist and into a massive urban center built entirely out of timber. His name was Megasthenes. An envoy trained in the strict logic of Aristotle, he was uniquely equipped to analyze the massive Mauryan Empire. He documented his findings in a text called Indica. He described Pataliputra, the empire's capital, as a meticulously planned parallelogram stretching nearly 14 kilometers long. It was ringed by a deep defensive moat and guarded by exactly 570 wooden towers. To his contemporaries back in Greece, this sounded absurd. Greek political thought dictated that sprawling empires inherently decayed into corruption and disorder. A hyper-organized, deeply administered megacity operating at this scale defied their understanding of how power worked. Because the original text of Indica was lost to time, surviving only in fragments quoted by later writers, historians argued for centuries. Was Megasthenes documenting a genuine feat of engineering, or just passing along exaggerated imperial propaganda? Without the original manuscript, resolving that debate required physical proof. But there was a massive geographic roadblock. The ancient capital sits directly underneath the dense concrete sprawl of modern-day Patna. In 1955, the K.P. Jayaswal Research Institute targeted the city's few remaining open spaces for excavation. This report by B.P. Sinha and Lala Aditya Narayan represents the first systematic scientific attempt to reconcile the ancient texts with the physical earth. Extracting fragments of this lost wooden empire from beneath the living city was the only way to separate myth from historical fact. Since they couldn't excavate the entire footprint, the team relied on limited vertical trenches. Looking at this original hand-drawn map from the excavation records, you can see how they carefully plotted these cuts alongside the banks of the Ganges. What they pulled from the dirt aligned perfectly with ancient texts. This report documents the Bulandi Bog site, 2 rows of 12-foot wooden pillars, spaced 14 feet apart. They found the palisades. Further down, archaeologists outline a 40-foot underground wooden drain, proving highly developed water management. Building with timber in highly humid, river-adjacent soil requires intense engineering logic. The Mauryans laid a rammed bed of earth, placed wooden sleepers horizontally, and meticulously socketed the massive upright pillars into them to prevent rot and structural collapse. The sheer precision of these structural dimensions in the ground proves Megasthenes wasn't inventing fairy tales. He was accurately reporting on an engineered marvel. The deepest layers of the dig, labeled Period 1, represent the Mauryan Empire's undisputed Golden Age. Throughout these trenches, researchers found standardized northern black polished ware alongside distinct punch-marked coins. These artifacts point to a massive, highly regulated economy running across an interconnected trade network. But the stratigraphy also reveals how it all came apart. In this section of the site analysis, the researchers document a distinct thick layer of ash sitting directly over the Period 1 ruins, indicating a large-scale catastrophic fire in the 2nd century BCE. This physical burn line perfectly matches historical accounts from the Yuga Purana, detailing an Indo-Greek invasion. They breached the palisades, waged war, and set the timber capital ablaze. By cutting into the earth, stratigraphy literally freezes a civilization's darkest day in place. It shows us exactly when the empire's reliance on wood became its fatal vulnerability. Following the fire, the Mauryan Empire adapted. By the time Emperor Asoka took power, he completely abandoned the vulnerable timber framework and rebuilt the city's monuments out of magnificent hewn stone. Pataliputra survived. It saw a fresh wave of brick construction and continued prosperity under the later Gupta kings, but it eventually succumbed to massive floods and time, slipping into total ruin by the late 6th century. Nature eventually reclaimed the timber and the stone. The city's true legacy was preserved in its administration. When we compare the physical evidence pulled from the dirt, the precise drains, the standardized weights, the perfectly spaced palisades, with the Arthashastra, an ancient Indian treatise on statecraft, the picture clarifies. The text describes a ruthless, highly organized 30-member council managing every aspect of urban life. Megasthenes was right to be unsettled. The sheer uniformity that researchers discovered in these trenches, doesn't happen by accident. It is the direct physical footprint of a specialized, unyielding administrative machine. The complexity Megasthenes observed, a city governed by specialized boards overseeing everything from industrial arts to public registration, finds its physical match in the engineered uniformity of these trenches. It reveals a degree of administrative order that challenged the Greek assumption that massive empires inevitably collapse into chaos. The great wooden capital may have burned and rotted away thousands of years ago, but the blueprints it left pressed into the earth remain a masterclass in governance.